Welcome to another episode of Question It, where a question is posed and we share our perspectives. I'm Kevin Strauss, the host of Question It and founder of Uchi, a simple social app built around one belief that everything feels possible when you know someone has your back every day. Today's guest is Phil Vetrano. Hey, Phil, can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Kevin, for having me. My name is Phil Vetrano. I'm an independent college and career coach. I'm also a co-founder of a nonprofit organization called Helpopedia.
Okay, thank you so much. So before we started recording, Phil picked a random number off my huge list of questions. So today's question that we'll both be answering is, what is something you believe in deeply, personally, and also professionally, and why? So it's basically like a two-part question. So Phil, you will have the floor first. What is something you believe in deeply, personally, also professionally, and why?
Wow, what a great question. What a great question. So something I truly believe in, and so I've been raised Catholic for most of my life, and I've attended church, and I'm an analyst. And I enjoy comparing things, analyzing things, questioning things. A lot of people say things and I question it, unless it's something that totally makes sense to me, something that's totally logical. And so what I find myself in that very difficult question of, is there a God? And certainly because I was raised that way, it has a heavy duty influence on me. But I'm, as an analyst, I question everything. And so this is the in my head, I'm contemplating these all the time about questioning life, and how difficult it is, and how some people are not able to get the breaks that they need, and the challenges that life happens, and the unfairness of it. And then you're thinking, how can there be a God with all this disappointment, frustration, and the element of the good versus evil thing, the opposites? It just, you see them so much. There can be so much success, there can be so much failure, and just with that logic and understanding that there's a positive and a negative, and this can happen during your roller coaster of your life. And I've come to terms with, just by looking at the beauty of our earth, the beauty in the mountains, in the lakes, in the oceans, the concept of breathing, having an opportunity to live the life that you want, to live the life you desire, to enjoy the roses. Like, there's nothing that makes sense to me except that God created this. God created this for man to enjoy the aspects of life, but we only get a taste of this. It is not forever. God created man in his eyes, but it's a short particular term for mankind to be on this earth. And I think that's the only explanation that makes sense to me, is that God has provided this free will to all of mankind to make all these choices of doing something for society, for mankind, for your brothers, for your sisters, for your parents, for loved ones. You have that choice. You can go against them, you can go with them, you can choose your friends. So that's the perspective I see, that there's the logic associated with breathing and the sophistication of man and the biology, things that I will never be able to comprehend in my lifetime. And then having gravity. So it's the combination of logic, of science, to know that there's explanations for this, and we're able to figure some of these things out. And only a creator would have the master plan and see the progress that we make and the lack of progress we make. And certainly the prayers, there's the element of prayers, and you hear about miracles, and you can think of, well, That's the only explanation from a logic perspective. If it doesn't make sense to medicine and something occurred positively, you're defaulting to God may have had a hand in it to help, because I have no other explanation for it. And it's the only thing that makes sense, is that if a miracle happens, this must be God's will, that he and through prayer and through other things. So this is the logic that I have as an analyst, because I can be open-minded to hear why there isn't a God. And I keep going back to the element of appreciating the extraordinary earth to have breathed life for animals, and the logic associated with the animals. As mankind keeps learning about animals and bees and the things that are not obvious, and all of a sudden they have these extraordinary talents and skills and behavior, and we can actually learn from animals, which is an interesting element. And it's like only God could create that, and be able to breathe and imagine all the destruction that happens during our lifetimes. But it's still the opposite of all the great things, all the great days that we've had, the lucky days that we've had, that we haven't had hurricanes and the tornadoes. So that whole opposite continues to penetrate my mind, that there's a reason for that. You can't have one without the other. That is this seems to be the logic that has been brought upon us, is that you have both sides of the equation on that pendulum of life, the hardest of hardest and the worst of the worst, the best of the best, and the appreciation of every day. Okay, so I do believe in God because it's the only thing that makes sense to me. And so I'll give you the opportunity to share your perspective for your personal beliefs.
Yeah, thank you so much. You never know what direction these are going to go in. So I think it's a good idea that you shared a personal belief first, and I'll do the same. But even before I share, I just want to really honor what you shared, in that what I'm hearing is how your belief, to me, it sounds so much like it's coming from such a glass half full, optimistic, love, beauty perspective. That's what I'm really hearing. You're recognizing the hard stuff, you're recognizing the destruction, the hurtfulness in the world. But as your analyst side of you see that, you get it, it's there, but your focus is really on the beauty of what is all that we know in our universe as it is. And that's what I'm really hearing coming through in your, God belief. The yin and the yang, basically the good and the bad, the happy and the sad, and all of that. So that's what I'm really hearing so much. And that there is so much that's happening in the universe, that the world, the universe, our species, that, like, how else could it be there? Like, how can it happen? Wasn't a God, right? So that's what I'm hearing. So it's interesting. I mean, yeah, so you don't have to respond to that, I guess, but that's what I'm hearing when you shared that. So thank you for sharing that. What I will also share is that it was hard for me to listen, because I instantly got triggered around that conversation, because it so happens that I have a very, very deep personal belief. I actually feel like it's more of a knowing than a belief, that there is no God. And that's my personal, belief answer to the question. And this is what I landed on. It took me about 30 years of my life to get there. After being so, strongly influenced from my upbringing. I was raised Jewish, by the way. So I'm definitely Jewish by blood and culture. But by belief, I am 100% atheist. I am not agnostic. I am 100% atheist. I don't even believe in the concept of God. I believe in energy, which can be proven through science. I believe in quantum physics. I believe in quantum entanglement. This stuff is proven in science again and again, thousands and thousands and thousands of experiments. But to go into my whole argument, I haven't even had this argument in so many years. Not to have an argument, but the reasons. I know that with all that there is in the universe, and even just take living species, there are 8.7 million living species on this planet. So canines are a species, but poodles are part of that species. Retrievers are part of that species, right? For dogs, right? So there's 8.7 million species on the planet. Humans are the only ones who believe in a God. And over the centuries, there have been thousands and thousands of different gods. Oh, but that religion's God is the one true God. And everyone's been wrong up until now. And then the other side of it is, how could all of this be without a God or some higher being creating it? In classical debate, that's simply the argument from ignorance. Just because one person cannot fathom an explanation, default, it's a God. It's a higher power. And throughout all of human history, we've thought, oh, God did this, God did that, God made babies, God made lightning. But as we've gone through time and we've become less ignorant to how things work, there is no God. There never was a God. Humans created God to fill that void of not knowing, because not knowing was a threat to survival. So when I put those things together and a bunch of other things together, it's just completely clear to me that there is no God, and humans created it in order to not feel alone and isolated. And they created it as a form of explanation for the unknown, because we just didn't know everything back then, and we still don't know everything today. And for me, I'm very comfortable not knowing. So that's kind of where I land on that without going too. I mean, we could probably have hours of discussion on this, but thanks for bringing that up, even, because that's just, I mean, that is a hot, sensitive topic for a lot of people. But you know what? I still love you, Phil. Even though you believe in God, I still love you. I think you're awesome. I've known you for a few years before we got on this episode. So I can love you even though you believe in God.
Thank you very much, Kevin. So it was thank you for sharing your perspective, and I do see your perspective. I really do. It's certainly a debatable thing. It's like we needed that crutch, but certainly I there's just things that just logically is extraordinary, like unbelievable behaviors from
it's hard to
animals.
fathom.
I know it's exactly. I keep going into that circular motion of wanting to believe that as much as possible, because it's beyond, it's beyond comprehension of not having one for me.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, and just
coincidence.
there's so much we don't
Coincidence.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you mentioned breathing or how the brain works, or yeah, like, or how could anybody do something so absurd like, shoot up a school, like that's insane, like that's crazy. Although I can completely explain it, but for most of society, that is just complete insanity. No one in their right mind would shoot up a school. So there must be some evil doing going on. So with a lot of the religions, there's, God, and then there's the devil counterpart, that yin and yang side. So yeah, it's hard to believe that stuff.
All right, so should I go to the
Yeah.
part two question?
Yes, please go to part two. Something that you believe in deeply professionally and why.
Okay, so one of the because I'm an analyst, I truly believe in continuous improvement, and there's always an opportunity to improve an organization, to improve an individual, to improve yourself. There's so many different ways um, to gather that information, and then there seems to be always a find a better way approach. And especially technology has shown us this in so many different ways. And we have evolved as mankind because of innovation and trial and error. And it's exceptional that mankind continues to have that trait generally, is to continuously improve, find the better mousetrap, build a better car, build a stronger product. Certainly we don't have that with everything, unfortunately. Like we don't have the general zest of being a better parent. It's not generally on our radar to be a better parent, but we want to be a better employee. We want to be maybe a better sibling. But parents is not necessarily, we don't have lots of educational systems that are supporting that. And certainly there's a growth and development there. And so this is something that is just an example of my analytical skills to know that that's not been high on the radar for our society and organization. We're worried about other things than parenting. And then, of course, we're also not worried about our youth either, as much as we can be. So thanks to your solutions, it helps with the communications between parents and youth, as well as mentors too.
Yeah, wow, thank you. So I love that. What was your background in education, or like how did you get to become an analyst?
So I was always interested in the entrepreneurial activity and business. So I enjoyed the process of improving organizations. And so I always had this innate skill of analyzing. I was the guy in the classroom who was asking questions when I wanted to learn something and I didn't get it. That's me in that room, not afraid of what people thought, because I really was wanting to know. But when there were subjects that I could care less about, I wasn't asking questions. I didn't have that. I didn't have that yet to learn chemistry or biology or physics. But boy, did I love the scientific method. So that process in itself is thorough, comprehensive, understandable, not required to have a science degree, but just an understanding of a methodical way of identifying and proving a theory or proving facts.
Wow, yeah. And so I was going to ask that, but then you sort of answered the question. Like it was even in school, even in like high school, you were asking the deeper questions again around subject matter that you're interested in. Like and I do the same thing. Like I'm not trying to learn about knitting, or ballet dancing, but I love learning about ballroom dancing. So it's what we're interested in, and you were and you like the scientific method and repeatable. That was another word that was coming to mind. You didn't share that in your long list of why you like it, but it's a repeatable result. Like, you can do the experiment and then repeat it. And I love how that's applying to just anything. And you mentioned parents wanting to be, or we don't have a lot of tools for parents to be a better parent, or not a lot of parents really even ask, how can I even be a better parent? Or maybe they ask it, but there aren't a lot of resources, or good resources, to actually help facilitate getting there. But then that also made me think, what about wanting to be a better child? When, and again, a 4-year-old not going to be like, oh, how can I be a better child? But a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 17-year-old, even an adult child could ask questions, So, yeah. So, and I love the idea of always improving too. Like, I've said this for a long time. Maybe you'll agree. No matter what we're doing in life, we can always improve. Right? Does that ever stop?
Only if you want to.
Right. That will be a choice to stop. But
Right.
I know that you're a runner. You can always get faster or more efficient, feel better after a run or a race, right? Like, when is it ever a perfect race? And even if it is a perfect race, could you go faster? So yeah, I love that. Okay. Okay, so I guess I'll go on what do I deeply believe in professionally? This can go a lot of ways also, but I'm going to first really quickly say I believe in overall wellness. So that's nurturing our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health. My definition for spiritual health is very different given what we talked about earlier. But what I see wellness like the four tires on a car. And you can't just inflate one tire and think that car is going to run well. But that's kind of what we do with physical health in society. And if just one tire goes flat, that car doesn't run. And that's what I see in society as the emotional health tire. So my deep, deep belief is in professionally is around emotional health. And my definition for emotional health is a person's ability to give and receive love. And by love, I mean love, connection, a sense of belonging. It's not just romantic love, because romantic love is less than 1% of all of our relationships. So I'm talking about love for your family, your friends, your neighbors, your country, your fellow human being. Love for all. And the more we love, the more connected we feel, the better we do. And where I really landed on that is how what I have found, and this is digging in for 30 years, is how everything feels possible when you know someone has your back every day. And I actually shared that at the top of the episode because that's what the Uchi app is founded on. And that's, my day job is the Uchi app. You can see some of it here. And Uchi is all about helping people have more authentic relationships and connections with those closest to them. So that's my belief and I know this, and I've done research on it, and I've seen enough other research that the more connected we feel, the better our relationships are, the better we do overall. So that's my super deep belief professionally.
Outstanding.
Thank you. Well, thanks for giving me that platform to share my work too. Um, but that comes back to your work as well, you know. So how does that fit in with the work that you're doing, the improving and all?
Yeah, so we just launched a special needs directory. So definitely society needed an improvement for because we've had lots of conversations with folks with children with special needs, and I've spoken to a lot of professionals who are in this industry, and there is no one source for identifying all the resources that you need, especially if you're starting this journey and just finding out that your loved one has some sort of disability and or learning challenge or mental health issue. So this is something that we been working on since April, and we found an incredible developer just recently in January, and in 3 months, we created something more robust than anything out there. And we have about 2,500 users on it already, and that's in the 3 weeks. And so this is something, and we see the stats is France, Netherlands, they're looking at our directory because they probably have never seen anything like this, and they probably want to imitate it to help and support those who are at a disadvantage. And so this is something that extremely proud of. It's something that I've never worked on a project that's can be so impactful to so many people. And so we're going to continue building it and improving on it because it's not all comprehensive in every single aspect. When you do a Google search, good luck with that associated with, right? You're going to get those sponsors first. And then when then it's like on the 6th line, oh, that's what I was looking for. But imagine you're looking for resources. You've got to spend so much time to do the necessary research. Even when you find the website, you have to dig, not my website, but our website, but you have to generally dig into a website to find what you're looking for. And the way that a lot of marketing companies have worked is they want to give you very little information, and they want the most clicks from you. They want you to be on that site for as long as possible. And what I say is that you should have your clients as short as possible to get them the information that they need so they can spend time on the thing that you've just directed them to help themselves. So this is something that we have metrics on that we want to make sure that they're finding what they need and certainly improve upon it too. We actually are
Right, because
implementing. Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, well, a lot of things. First off, already 2,500 users in the first 3 weeks, because I know this just launched in April of 2026. So that's quite an impact, and being tangible. I love the whole, you do a Google search, or even today, if you ask AI, you're still not getting, AI gets stuff wrong all the time, and then to try to find a local resource or even a national or global resource to find, is this actually what I need? Is this actually going to fit, what my child needs? Something like that. It can be so difficult to really discern that from marketing material. It's like so complicated. So, but if you're putting together a resource that just like streamlines it, and it's like, what do I need to know? Here's my main questions. Oh, you address that. I want that. Oh, you don't address that? Yeah, that's not for me. Let me find something else. That's what it sounds like you've done.
Yes, so that's what we've started, and we're going to continue building upon. We've identified over 130 categories. Within those categories, there are hundreds of topics for each. We're not there yet, but this is what we're imagining and envisioning to complete, to say, wow, This is a robust directory. It's all about special needs, and I can find what I'm looking for with a keystroke of here's something in my zip code. We even tell them how many miles away, if it's an in-person activity, that they have to drive to get there. One example I'll give you. There's a lot of folks with sensory issues, and when they visit a dentist, they just can't open their mouth. A lot of cognitive issues there, and so they have to be sedated. Not every dentist has this service. Some people upstate New York, they're traveling 3 hours to have a dentist sedate their son or child to address their cavity and or the issues that they're having, or just a checkup. And when there's wait list, imagine you get the phone call, we have to reschedule your appointment. Okay, when's the next one? 6 months from now. This is not a good situation for your son or child to wait 6 more months for the sedation process. So this is another element that we can provide associations with. Hey, there's issues and needs in this particular region. How can you meet those needs? Because this is a crisis that the family is going through just by going to a dentist. So this is some of the upside for this, is that parents and families have to sacrifice now for the hope of the future that it gets better. And so this is what we're also implementing.
Wow, what a resource. It's like, a real one-stop shop, better than the yellow pages from back in the day. But a one-stop shop, and really highlighting the needs, the special needs, because there's so much, and like you said, you already identified 130, and then all the subcategories. But now with so much more diagnoses and neurodivergence and autism, and how the spectrum of all of that is so complex. There's so much going on, and every person is a slight different variation. How do we help? Because everyone needs help, even the non special needs, everyone needs help in some way, like better parents, so wow. So thanks for sharing that, and I'm glad to learn about it more, because like you said, it just went online 3 weeks ago, or went live 3 weeks ago. So yeah, I'm learning about it now. So thanks for sharing that, and I love that work that you're doing. People helping people. The more together we are, the better we're all gonna do. So yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Phil, for being a part of this this new era of Question It. And I you were talking about that early on, questioning, whatever comes in your life, and you're such a perfect guest for the Question It podcast. But I think we're going to wrap it up here for now. So that's another episode of Question It. Until next time, peace, love, and connect.